You need to fix your diet. If you've been training for a while, but you haven't seen the results you're after, it's probably because your diet isn't where it needs to be. I know this because it was the same for me, but when I learned the things that I'm going to teach you in this video today, I saw massive improvements in both my strength, my physique, and my overall health. However, I'm not going to say to you to start trying a new diet like keto, vegan, or carnivore, because that's not going to help you if you don't fix the core issue. What you actually need to do is get a good base understanding of how to read ingredients labels, as well as the effects of UPFs on the body, so we can optimize our diet for both our health and performance. This video today is going to be in 3 parts: diet for health, diet for aesthetics, and diet for performance. We'll start with diet for health, because once we fix this, we'll see improvements in our physique and performance anyway. A couple of years ago, I was in one of the best shapes of my life. I was also the strongest I'd ever been. However, despite this, I started to develop a lot of health problems. This all happened during a dirty bulk, and I would get odd symptoms like tingles in my arms, lightheadedness, dizziness, subtle aches and pains, and heart palpitations. This went on throughout most of 2023, until towards the end of the year, I started to learn more about UPFs and the effects they have on the body. UPF stand for ultra processed foods, and they're bad because they contain a host of unnatural ingredients that have negative effects on the body. However, cutting these foods out is actually really quite difficult because we're so used to them in our modern diet. It also requires us to get a good understanding of how to read ingredients labels and also how to cook, so what we're eating doesn't taste bland and like shit. Since discovering UPFs, I've had to go through a phase of learning to cook myself and learning to make proper homemade healthy meals for me and my son. The effects of UPFs are over a longer period of time. It's not like you eat a bit of processed meat and you get seriously ill. It's more like you eat a bit of processed meat every day for 10 years, and that's where the health problems start to creep in. I'm going to put some ingredients on screen now. These are the ones you really need to watch out for. These are some of the worst UPF ingredients out there. Another good thing to go off is if it sounds like it's come out of a lab, then it probably is a bad ingredient. However, do your research, because sometimes you can surprise yourself and there are things that turns out aren't as bad as they sound. This also doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself, you can't enjoy your food, you can't have nice things. But save it for when you're out with friends, you're on a date, you're on holiday. Day to day, when you're at home, you don't need a tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. We always hear claims from people on social media that this diet fixed their problem or that diet fixed their problem. You know, carnivore fixed my arthritis, or veganism cured my little willy. But the real reason is when they switched to vegan, for example, they also eliminated the UPF ingredients that were causing those health problems in the first place. In my opinion, if health problems still persist after eliminating UPF ingredients, that's when we should start looking at elimination diets like vegan, carnivore, or keto. Me personally, where I'm at right now, I would love to go on a ketogenic diet or even a carnivore diet. For me right now, I'm training for a marathon, building strength in the gym, and it's just not optimal for me to cut out carbohydrates. This leads on to the next section of diet for performance. As I said before, I'm training for a marathon, I'm building strength, so I need high carb, high protein diet. But that's something I've always gone against over recent years because I've always focused on health and aesthetics. Building strength in the gym while also improving our running times can be done if 3 things are right. First one is if our recovery is on point. The second is if we have proper structure to our training. And the third is if we have a diet that fuels that training. When it comes to running, pre-race, we want low fiber, fast digesting carbs. These are great because they're going to fill up our glycogen stores, give us plenty of energy while we're running. But they're also easier to break down and a lot easier on our digestive system compared to complex carbohydrates like brown rice, brown pasta, etc. I'm going to put some examples of fast digesting carbs on screen now. These are what we want to be consuming either the day before or the morning before our next run. Runners love their energy gels, but so many of them have the UPF ingredients we spoke about earlier. We want to perform, but not at the cost of our health, so we need to find one that's minimally processed. Me personally, I use Morton gels. They don't have any artificial sweeteners or unnecessary ingredients. They're still probably not perfect, but we limit what we can. If we are not running, then we do want to be consuming some more complex carbohydrates like brown rice, brown pasta, etc. because these have more fiber, more vitamins, more minerals than their fast digesting counterparts. We also, of course, need to ensure we're hitting our daily protein goal. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is the standard these days. This will help us recover from our runs, from our strength training, and also build muscle. Best form of protein we can get, whey isolate. But again, a avoid the UPF ingredients we spoke about before. Me personally, I go unflavoured, but if you can't deal with that, just find a natural sweetener alternative. It's also important that we're tracking our calories to make sure we're eating enough, so we know we're fueling all this intense training that we're doing. For me, you don't have to do it every day though. Just once a week should be enough. Or if you've made changes to your diet or activity level, then you should probably start doing it just to make sure you're still on track. Finally, we're going to talk about diet for aesthetics. When dieting for an aesthetic body, we again want to keep our UPF consumption down to a minimum, but we also want to limit our carb and sugar intake as well. Too much excess sugar is going to make us gain body fat, making our abs and lean muscle less defined. When it comes to our supplements, we also want to watch out for excess sugar here as well. When I went on my cut, I had one big carb meal a day. The rest of my calories was high fat, high protein. High fat, high protein diet is the best in my opinion for building a natural aesthetic body. I'm going to put some examples of high fat foods on screen now. These are absolutely perfect to incorporate in your diet or replace for any high carb, high sugar snacks that you currently have in your diet. Lastly, for the aesthetic body, make sure you set your calories based on where you currently are. If you're a high body fat, then you need to go in a deficit. However, if you're an ectomorph like me, you want to be eating more than your current daily intake. When I first started going to the gym, I was a skinny ectomorph. But over the years, from poor dieting, I ballooned up and went through stages where I looked like absolute shit. So I've been at both ends of the spectrum. When it comes to diet, I now know what it takes to achieve the physique you want. But that's everything for today. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you.